you winners, and welcome to something called Fogged Up Mirror. Now this is a Twine game, and the person who created it said a personal look at identity labels and assumptions from a gender queer perspective. So I thought this might be really interesting to look at, especially since some people might not know what gender queer is or how to see what it's like from someone's perspective of that situation. Or of that gender or identity. So this is Fogged Up Mirror by Cha Holland. I might be pronouncing your name wrong. I'm so sorry if I am. Again, link is in the description as always for this game. It is free to play, so if you guys want to check it out yourselves, it is always in the description. But there's cats playing, I'm sorry. Let us begin. Labels don't matter much until they really do. Often they're a way of figuring myself out. Patterns other people have left for me to try on and see if they fit. So many things I can be and do. But I would also like to be able to explain myself to other people. It feels good to be recognized and understood in some small way. Scrawl a thought on the mirror with your finger. Okay, so I think all of these are what we're gonna go through, so I am a woman. It's not a fashion to like your body, but I generally do, even down to the little cellulite dimples on my thighs. My bathroom mirror extends all the way along the wall, so you can watch yourself as you shower. I love that mirror. My weight and body composition keep changing, back and forth. Different shapes, curves I've never seen before that I get to recognize as part of myself. I still think of myself as a B cup, but I'm really not. I puzzle over the differences between self-image and reality, but I'm one of the lucky ones who was never dragged too far down by it. My body, usually dressed. Can I stop adding words? That'd be great. Thanks. My body, usually dressed in feminine clothes, is how others label me, a woman. It's an understandable default assumption, but doesn't feel right. I can't explain it much better than that. I hope doesn't feel right will be enough for people. I don't have physical dysphoria, but that doesn't make me a woman. Makes sense. How others label me? Oh, my body, usually dressed in feminine clothes, is how others label me as a woman. This confuses sex, chromosomes, physical traits, and gender expression, choice of clothes, with gender identity, sense of self. This is an important distinction, but I worry about explaining myself in this way in case anyone tries to apply my personal situation more broadly. I'm happy to consider myself female, but for another person this could be insulting and dismissive. A body is still part of an identity, and everyone treats that differently. I like that had a little definition of what labeling is. So, wipe women off the mirror. Woman. I am a man. Woman doesn't feel right, but man is no better. It's unlikely anyone would assume I'm a man, but sometimes I'm grateful for a change, even if it means swapping one false label for another. My partner calls me man sometimes, in a casual hey man sort of way. It's oddly comforting. He knows the label isn't true. It's more like a game between us. I don't have strong preferences for any particular pronouns, but the occasional, he would speak up the never-ending chorus of she's, which would be kind of nice, I think. Singularly, they is fine, too. Like they, them, there. I grew up more comfortable associating with boys than girls. I understand the reasons better now, but I struggle to trust and form bonds with women. I'm working on it. My internalized sexism doesn't make me a man. Singularly they, I want to know what their description of that is. Yes, there are other gender-neutral pronouns. They seems good enough for me, and I don't know anyone else who uses other words, so I haven't needed to get them straight in my head. I would if they mattered to someone I know. That's legit. White man off the mirror. What next? What's that? What's behind me, guys? Can you guys see that? I don't know if I'm in the way. That looks like what I think it looks like. I am transgender. What do you know about what it means to be trans? Imaginary conversation in my head. I like that. Transgender can be used as an umbrella term for anyone who doesn't fit conversational ideas about gender roles, but I'm wary of co-opting an identity without having to experience the struggles that go along with it. I can walk down the streets without fear of being judged for my identity and appearance. Well, if I flashed my hairy armpits, that might not be true, but I'm no more judged than the average cisgendered woman. For those that don't know what cis means, it means, I think, straight in a way. Or like cis woman would be a straight woman, cis man, straight man. Invisibility sucks, but it's nothing compared to living surrounded by constant tangible danger. I have no idea what that's like. I do throw around other terms when I need them, like genderqueer or non-binary gender, which seem fine to me. But when I was looking for advice about feeling less invisible, or at least less grumpy about being invisible, I received labeling advice instead. You'll understand yourself so much better if you just look up term X. That's not helpful. Wipe transgender off the mirror. I am an employee. You're an intelligent, beautiful young woman. My former boss's idea of career encouragement. I never confronted my boss, but I thought about doing it an awful lot. One of my life's missed opportunities. If only I were a better communicator. He supports hiring more women, which is great, but because they provide such a different perspective, which is less great. The sort of person who talked about a visiting scientist as an inspiring female scientist and role model to women, where a man of similar experience would be a giant in the field. You other her, you diminish her. Oh, you other her, you diminish her. If those gender boxes are so distinct, I don't belong anywhere. I was thinking that when it said inspiring female scientist and role model to women, I'm like, can't it be a role model for a man too? Why is it only a role model for a woman? What? Okay, wipe employee off the mirror. It's what I thought it was. It's a hangman drawing. I am a coworker. I worked in a field that attracts left-leaning people who would consider themselves welcoming and accepting to queer people, and mostly they were. Trans jokes still happen occasionally, though, because they weren't like real people, I guess. I would walk out of the office even before I fully understood my discomfort. I just needed to get out of there. I'm worried about ever finding a workplace where I feel comfortable. I'm worried even about feeling up to the applying for jobs again. Wipe coworker off the mirror. It's a head. I am lover. I can't use the term straight to describe my sexuality anymore. What does it even mean? I liked androphilic? Never heard that one. In theory, but there's a lot of baggage and bullshit associated with the label once you look into it. Still, doesn't it make more sense to describe attraction in terms of what you like instead of whether it's similar to you? Baggage and bullshit. If you really want to know why androphilic worries me, there's a blog post here. Open that link in a new tab if you don't want to have to start over. I'm curious. Let's take a look at it. Why it worries you. Oh, this is hard to see, but it says gender variance, who's who. Oh wow, there's a lot going on here. Holy shit. So this is a bunch of essays on trans, intersex, cis, and other persons and topics from a trans perspective. All human life is here. So this is in the game if you guys do decide to look at it. Again, it's a free to go through game, so if I remember, I'll try to put a link to this website, but otherwise I'll just put a link to the game and then you guys can go through the game to find it. I could just say that I'm not into men, of course. I do have to overcomplicate things sometimes. Lover is a positive aspect of my life, but not when people's assumptions are piled on top of it. Relationships combine two or more unique personalities, and so are arguably even more individual than people. I don't really think people work like numbers, but I enjoy the way that sentence sounds too much to delete it. My underlying point still stands. Yeah, it gets really... I totally understand that, where people make assumptions and they just kind of assume. one way or another. Like, I've always been asked, oh, so you have a boyfriend? Like, always. And I always have. But, I mean, there's still, like, what if I had a girlfriend? Like, why do you just automatically assume? Because I'm a girl. I always try when I ask people, do you have a significant other, is how I try to approach it. Because I know there are so many variations. I know it's also being considered pansexual as one. I think what pansexual means is like kind of just whatever you like. Pansexual is, and people wonder why you wouldn't just call yourself bisexual, because bisexual says I like girls and I like boys. Pansexual says I like girls, boys, trans, genderqueer, non-binary. Like, it's including everyone. It doesn't matter what the fuck, who you are on the inside, outside, nothing. It's just they love. I think pan is more focused on loving someone based on the inside of them, not the outside, which I've always considered myself more along those lines. But bisexual is just really easy as a label for me to tell people. But I've never really thought that hard to be like, does that feel right? Because I wouldn't care if someone was trans or if someone was non-binary or anything. That doesn't matter to me. So I wonder, I'm kind of in the same boat of, well, I just say the label because it's easier for people to understand that way, but it might not be entirely correct. Just food for thought. Wipe blubber off the mirror. Tomatoes develop from, this is weird. Tomatoes develop from flower ovaries and contain the seed of the plant. This makes a tomato a fruit, but botanically speaking. For most of us, the culinary classification is more useful though. A tomato is a vegetable. People create boxes and hierarchies for many different purposes, but it's always one of many possible simplifications of reality. No one is supposed to kid themselves. The classification is real. Certainly not in an infallible way. If someone tries to tell you you're wrong for calling a tomato a vegetable, they are A, being a smartass, and B, widely missing the point of what classification is for. Missing the point. Oh, it's a half woman, half male, like bathroom sign type thing. If classification doesn't fit reality, it's the labels that need to adapt, not the other way around. When people are being dragged down by terminology, something is very wrong. Knowing a person is an individual will always be the most important thing, but grouping words have their uses too. I'd love it if they weren't so often prescriptive and full of shit. Thank you for playing. And thank you for making Fogged Up Mirror. So this is quite an interesting Twine game. I usually tend to be more story-based. This is more of inspecting the self. And I've been playing a lot of that kind of stuff, although it makes me sad that it's hanging. I guess you're hanging your identity in a way. But yeah, I've always thought, especially recently, that all of the different descriptors that people, or labels that people give themselves have been very overwhelming, because I'm like, I don't remember all of these, and I have been accused of, well, that's not what I label myself as. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. But I've been on the other end of people label me, and I tend to just kind of take it. But, or I'll be like, oh, well, no, I identify as this or something. But I have had the few that are like, oh, by the way, I identify as this. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll try to remember. I'll probably forget. Just keep reminding me. Like, I am very forgetful, and I do know that I am raised on assumptions, and that I'll assume something about someone just because of the society we live in, the way I've grown up. And it's really hard to break habits, especially as you get older. So I would love people to keep correcting me, because I want to eventually get into the habit of calling you they, their, her, she, he, them, what have you. It just depends on what that person classifies themselves as. But at the same time, don't get mad at me if I screw up, because I'm not trying to, and I'm not trying to ignore what you want to be called. I know a lot of people, and it's hard for me to remember who's who and who identifies as what, and I just end up making assumptions. There have been a few times where I'll call an artist a she or a he, and then realize they're the opposite later. I'm like, damn it. So then later I'll be like, oh, this is her work. I mean, his work. Damn it. So it happens a lot, and I do try. So if you guys have specific pronouns or identifications. I will try my best, but I will probably forget, and I'll just keep trying and trying again. But I totally get how it is of not knowing exactly where you fit in either. But then again, in my personal experience, I've had my crises here and there of what am I? What do I feel? And now I'm just at the point of, I'm here. Like, I'll try to explain myself if someone asks, but it doesn't affect my life too much because I have River and I have Shy Guy, and it's not been anything for a long time else. So it's easier to explain that, or for that to be the obvious thing that people talk to me about, and not my identity or my sexuality or my gender. Although I do identify as a woman. I identify as a female. But when it comes to like sexuality and stuff, it gets really foggy, but it's like I'm dating males, so, and I've only ever dated males, so it's hard for me to explain my sex, or people to assume stuff about me because they just assume I'm straight because all I've dated is guys. So, and I tend to be more attracted to guys, but it gets blurry when you start trying to explain it to someone. So let me know your guys' experiences in the comments. Please play nice. Let me know what you guys thought of Fogged Up Mirror, what you think of identities and how you guys fit into the world. But again, as I've always said, you guys fit in here. And no matter what you identify as, no matter what you think of yourself as, or what you label yourself as, you are always welcome here. I do not care what you are. I will love you no matter what. So that is what this community is all for. And I hope you enjoyed Fogged Up Mirror. Again, link is in the description if you guys want to click on that, and I'll try to remember to put the other thing in the description as well, the other website. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, or at least it made you think. I always like making you guys think. And I will see you guys in the next Twine game that I read, or game that I play. And I'll see you next time, so keep winning, guys.